Welcome to Dementia Friendly Prince George's County, Maryland Northern Sector webinar series for caregivers. Today's topic is Caregiver Self-Care, presented by Miriam Redon Ponce and Denise Ross, sponsored by Prince George's County Government and the Department of Family Services.
Greetings, everyone. I am so happy to be here, and I am here today to give you something to take with you that I think will be beneficial to all caregivers, present and future, for generations to come. The benefits of caregiving. As you can see, there's a list of caregiving benefits that I will speak about as I move forward with my teaching today, and I will start out by asking you to consider this scenario. You have a sick loved one who is reliant on you to care for them. Caregiving, expected or unexpected, has become a reality for you. You now must make the decision to care for your loved one in the home or in a facility. Some have the option to choose, others do not. Either way, you have become a caregiver, and it is very possible that you may become overwhelmed, fearful, and reluctant to accept the task. I want to encourage you to also consider the following. How do you manage? First, you will need to accept the task. After accepting the task, you can expect to be rewarded. Your rewards will include the benefits listed in this slide: gratitude, joy, accomplishment, and peace. So let's go down the list and expound on each benefit. Gratitude will come from both you and the person you are caring for. You will learn a caregiving language that is spoken and unspoken. Through this new language, the person you are caring for will learn to give you what you need to make your job easier without you having to ask. You also learn to give the person you're caring for what they need spontaneously. Both of you will be appreciative, and this kind of relationship will bring joy. That takes us to the next benefit. Joy is something that will come as you master your caregiving tasks. As tough as it may be at times, you will begin to see the care you are providing is a privilege instead of a task. Your relationship with your loved one will develop into a beautiful memory that will last forever. Joy is also a result of gratitude and will give you a sense of accomplishment, your third benefit. Accomplishment is what every caregiver sets out to achieve in caring for their loved one. Nothing feels better than the feeling of achievement when your caregiving journey is complete. You would have climbed the mountain and come down on the other side knowing that you did all you could do to be the best caregiver possible for your loved one, and this leads to the final benefit, which is peace. Peace is something to work towards during your caregiving journey from start to finish. Everything you do for and say for your loved one is tied to whether you will experience peace when your caregiving journey is complete. Everything. There's no other path to take. Although we are not perfect in all we do, I believe God will give us grace during those times. You can count on that. Memories will also play a vital role in the peace experience. Moreover, we can visit anytime we want to see, talk, cry, and smile with our loved ones, especially if they have transitioned to be with God. Finally, if you're ever faced with having to care for your loved one, let all I have said encourage you not to panic, as this is a journey with benefits. Notably, caregiving may be what you or I will need someday. Just know that you can be an exceptional caregiver who can embrace this part of life as you witness your loved one experience the joy and peace we all deserve. Now, I would like to share my testimony on how I received the benefits of caregiving, if I may. As mentioned earlier during my introduction, I educate families on how to care for loved ones who have been diagnosed with various chronic and life-limiting illnesses, as well as transitioning loved ones, which I call the good work. Expectantly, my turn came up, and I accepted the responsibility to care for my mother who was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. I also expected caregiving to become more involved as I prepared for the task ahead of me. This also gave me a chance to put my good work into practice. My mother became wheelchair bound, weak, and needed assistance with all of her daily living activities. I arranged for caregivers to assist us as I continued to work full time. Ceasing from working full time was not an option for me, so I pressed forward knowing and believing God was with us as promised. Because his word also says to honor your father and your mother, that your days may be long upon the land which the Lord your God is giving you. There were times I felt the task was too hard and too long, but this scripture strengthened me throughout my entire caregiving journey. I truly learned caregiving has the rewards of gratitude, joy, accomplishment, and peace. I also learned the caregiving language that is spoken and unspoken. Though this was a new language, my mother gave me what I needed to make my job easier when asked. I discovered how to give my mother what she needed when she needed it spontaneously. Both of us were appreciative, and our relationship brought unspeakable joy. The next benefit. Joy surely followed as I mastered my caregiving tasks. As tough as it was at times, I began to see the care I was providing as a privilege instead of a task. My relationship with my mother developed into a beautiful memory that will last forever. A sense of accomplishment. The third benefit followed as expected. Accomplishment is what I set out to achieve in caring for my mother. It is true that nothing feels better than feeling the achievement when your caregiving journey is complete. I climbed that mountain and came down on the other side knowing that I did all I could do to be the best caregiver possible for my mother. And this led me to my final reward, peace. And I thank God for that. Peace was something I worked towards during my entire caregiving journey from start to finish. Everything I did for and said to my mother was tied to whether I would receive peace when my caregiving journey was complete. Everything. I knew there was no other path to take. Although I was not perfect in all I did in caring for my mother, God gave us grace during those times. There was nothing asked for that he did not provide. Nothing. I clung to that. Memories also played a vital role in my peaceful experience. Moreover, I visit our memories anytime I want to see, talk, cry, and smile with my mother now that she has transitioned, I believe, to be with God. Prior to her transition, I remember how we often talked about Jesus, our Lord and Savior. This is what I believe to be one of the most important aspects of caregiving. I learned during our journey the acceptance of Christ brings peace ahead of time and when you need it most. I remember there was a moment when she became agitated and said, "I am going to die." At this moment, I knew what she needed to hear and said to her, "Nobody dies in Christ. Nobody." Suddenly, I saw the look of acceptance on my mother's face. Immediately, God gave us peace, the peace we needed to complete the journey. It was not easy to watch my mother approach her time to transition. This was because I loved her so much and was content and honored to care for her. Even though I loved her, I can recall a time when I felt remorseful due to being so exhausted. I prayed as I took clothing out of my dryer, asking God to keep me from becoming resentful toward my mother for having to take care of her. As I started to cry uncontrollably, I heard God say, I am waiting for you, Denise. I am waiting for you. That signified to me that the time was getting close. I was prompted to ask the Lord not to take her in the middle of the night, and He answered. A few days later, she transitioned during the early morning hours. When I realized she had transitioned, I proceeded to bathe and clothe her. As I groomed her hair, I gazed upon her to ensure she looked dignified. And as she lay, I saw a peaceful glow upon her face that signified total peace, my final gift. To bring my story to a close, days that turned into weeks after my mother's transition, there was a fragrance that caught me off guard in our home. I opened the windows and the smell stayed no matter how long I left the windows opened. I called a very dear friend and said, there is a sweet flowery smell I can't get rid of in here. And she responded as I knew she would. And she said, Denise, just embrace it. She did not say why, but I said, okay, trusting what she told me to do. Moreover, I smile when I think about the story because when I look back, it was a time when peace beyond understanding entered my heart and soul. It was as though my mother was giving me flowers to thank me for caring for her. That means everything to me, everything. The same peace is still with me and has never left. As I care for my mother, I put my calling of the good work into practice. As I traveled on the road to peace, I put all I'd learned, taught, and believed into action, reaping the benefits of caregiving. I can also tell you that every time overwhelming sorrow tries to enter my heart, although I miss her, peace rises up to take its rightful place. So I challenge you to keep these benefits in mind while you care for others. If you've cared for someone in the past and feel as though you missed the mark in being a good caregiver, be encouraged that under your circumstances, which are unique to you, because you accepted the task, please know that you were the best caregiver you could be. Now that you know there are benefits in caregiving, you can also share them with others and also when someone cares for you, therefore passing them down to generations to come. This concludes the teaching on caregiving benefits, and thank you for allowing me to share. I will now move on to the next slide and quickly go through the various services Hope for the Caregiver offers. Because educating caregivers is my passion and life's work, Hope for the Caregiver offers the following. Free 30-minute consultations, free 15-minute sessions for prayer, free group classes. And what I mean by group classes, classes include group discussions and instruction. And the class options are spread out over 6 weeks, and you can also take them as 6-hour sessions. Tailored classes are also offered to meet more specific needs. And lastly, Hope books are also offered to order directly from my website. There's much more to learn to assist you on your caregiving journey, and these easy to read, cutting through the chase, short books offer a wealth of information and algorithms that are designed to help you gain your footing in navigating the healthcare system, reap the benefits of caregiving, and how to care for transitioning persons, which include adults and children. And moving on to the last slide, my contact information is included. Please feel free to contact me for any of these services through my website contact page, and I will respond to you within 24 hours. Also, the 6-week and 6-hour classes will be starting in September this year, 2024, and I will be announcing the start date the 3rd week of August. Thank you and blessings to you all.
Thank you so much, Denise. That was amazing. Really appreciate you joining us tonight.
Thank you. Thank you.
You are very welcome. And as stated before, my name is Miriam Redon Ponce, and I will be talking about caregiver self-care. I'll share a little bit about my journey with caregiving. I am part of what you call a sandwich generation, in which we have the responsibility of taking care of smaller children. So I have 2 boys, age 20 and 13. And at the same time, I was taking care of my father, who had a diabetic ulcer that became really infected, and then eventually they had to amputate his foot. So he ended up needing rehabilitation, which we did at home. Due to language barrier and just culture, we didn't think that he was going to do well in a rehab facility. So my sisters and I decided that home will be a better place to do it. But with that, whole list of new responsibilities came with that. We had to administer an antibiotic twice a day. My younger sister had to wake up at 3 in the morning to do it, and then again at 3 in the afternoon. And his diet changed, so the whole family had to change diet to ensure that he was being compliant. And with that also came other responsibilities, like twice a week doctor's appointments, twice a week PT/OT appointments. Once or 3 times nurses will come to the home and take care of my dad. So a lot of case management duties also. I had to make many doctor's appointments on the phone. I had to spend time on the phone with the insurance company. And on top of that, taking care of my dad. He needed help with showering. He needed help with getting dressed. He needed help with going down the stairs. It was a very life-changing experience, but I couldn't say no. That was my father. But at the same time, there were times where I felt that I needed help, but it was very difficult for me to ask for help because I am the eldest daughter, so I am responsible for my whole family, not just my children, but also my sisters, my mom, my dad, and anybody else that composes my family, friends. I even felt that at one point I had to take care of some coworkers that were going through loss in their life. So it was definitely a difficult time. There were times when I would come home from work and just exhausted. There was no break in between. There was no lunchtime. It was just, okay, you finished this job. Now you're going home to be a mom. Now you're going home to be a student because I'm in school. Now you have to go home and check on your dad and make sure that his sugar is level, make sure that he ate, make sure that his doctor's appointments are in line. So it was definitely a difficult time. Now I can say he is healed. He has a prosthetic foot and he is walking. He just came back from Mexico. He's independent, but it took us over a year to get him there with a lot of resources that we had to look out for. There was no one giving us a book to say, these are the resources that are available and these are the people you can call to help you. It was almost like Google was my best friend at that point. But in one part, I was blessed. I am part of the healthcare system. I do know some resources myself. My sister's a nurse. Most families don't have that. They don't have that advantage of having someone that is in healthcare or someone that knows a little bit about where to go, who to ask for help. And so part of my presentation tonight is giving you some support in the sense of sharing some resources that are out there. You do not have to do this alone. Whether it's caregiving for someone that is going through an amputation, someone that has a UTI, someone that is cognitively or developmentally impaired, or even someone that is in the transition of end of life. So you do not have to do this alone. This next slide, I will talk about what happens after caregiving is over. So you took care of your loved one, and now they are in the last stage of life. They are in the end of life phase. What do you do? What happens once your loved one has passed? Even though caregiving can be a very rewarding experience, it can also be very straining, physically draining. It can be stressful. Actually, more than 10% of caregivers may experience depression once their loved one passes. And you may ask yourself, well, that's a normal part of grieving. It is. But you also lose a routine, right? You waking up at 6 a.m. to make them breakfast. You were in charge of their medications. You were in charge of the doctor's appointments. You were in charge of making sure that they are clean, changing their bed, changing them, giving them any medication, making sure that everything is okay with them. And now you don't have that. What do? You almost feel a little lost. You almost feel like, who am I now that my loved one has passed? Regardless if it's your child, your mother, your spouse, a friend, your neighbor, it's still a loss. And so how do we adapt to a new life and a routine after loss? Can be very difficult. Some of the caregivers can also experience complicated grief that can feel like immense sorrow, pain, guilt, constantly thinking about their loved one's death. Sometimes you get fixated in how it happened. If I would have given them this, if I would have done that. Sometimes you start to question your decisions in the moment. You can also go into denial or extreme anger. You may be angry at the healthcare system that didn't diagnose, didn't find the cancer earlier. You can be mad at your sister that didn't help you with the caregiving experience. You are upset that the person passed and now you are alone. It could be so many feelings. And you can also feel like maybe life now is meaningless. And all of those feelings are valid. And how do we deal with these feelings? Well, you can ask for help, you can seek resources, you can lean on your friends, and we're going to talk about that in the next slide. So how does grief support become part of self-care? Well, very importantly, take care of yourself when you're grieving. Remember that you do not have to be afraid to ask for help from your family, from your friends, from professionals, grief counselors, maybe even your regular therapist that is helping you through other trauma. They can also refer you to or help you themselves. Grief can be very overwhelming, and self-care is imperative for healing. There will also be different emotions that can include the anger and the sadness, and maybe resentful to the person that has passed, or resentful to the people that were not there for you. Grief can also cause physical symptoms such as headaches. It can cause you to lose your appetite, lose sleep. Maybe you feel fatigued. Maybe you start to feel anxious. There's so many new feelings and emotions that you may experience now after the person has passed. It is also very important to eat healthy, exercise, sleep, allow your body to rest. Give yourself the opportunity to rest. In between caregiving, you should always give yourself time to rest. Even though it may seem impossible, when you have 10 seconds, just close your eyes. Give yourself that time. If you have somebody in the home that is watching your loved one, and you can run to the nearest coffee shop, buy yourself a coffee. Walk to the supermarket. I love going to the supermarket and meeting people and smiling at people. It makes my day. It's a part of my self-care. During this challenging time, also give yourself grace and compassion. Remember that these feelings are normal. This is something that you are feeling. All your feelings are valid. And also try to remember that grief is different for everyone. Even if you see that your sister is, or your brother, they are grieving in a different way, maybe it seems like they moved on and you're still here in this sorrow. Everyone grieves differently, and it's a journey that may take time. It's not going to go away in a month or a year. It may be even become more palpable once an anniversary comes up. It doesn't even have to be on special days. Maybe you're just walking down the block and you see mom's favorite flower blooming, and it's a beautiful thing, but it also reminds you of mom, and it's painful. So please know that it takes time. At Hospice of the Chesapeake, we have something called the Chesapeake Life Center, and we provide hospice, we provide bereavement counseling, we provide this to the community. We also provide it to anyone that has lost anyone, not just in hospice, but maybe suicide, maybe through sickness or sudden accidents. And family members can receive, for those in hospice, they can receive up to 10 sessions, and they can attend support groups at no cost to them for up to 13 months, even after the person has passed. Hospice services and counseling services are also available to community members whose loved one was not on hospice, but they have passed. And these are offered in a sliding scale. So if you do not have insurance, don't be afraid. Seek the help and see what, sometimes we do it at no cost. So don't be afraid to say or to think to yourself, well, I can't afford this. It's going to be an arm and a leg. Call. Some insurances will cover it. Some workplaces will give you EPAs. They will give you EAP, sorry. They will give you some sessions, up to 6 sessions sometimes, up to 10 sessions sometimes. So call your insurance company, see if they can provide this for you. And then sometimes if we do charge something, you can also put it in your health savings plan. You can pay with your health savings plans as well. And here I'm going to share some support groups that are available in our life center. So we have different ones, but one of them that really speaks to me, and is one of my favorite ones, is loss of a partner. And loss of a life partner is something that it's actually our biggest group. We have about 20 to 25 people that join us, and it just we go through the month. We meet once a month, and we go through, let's say it's April and Easter's coming up, and that's a big holiday for you. We go through that. We talk about how are we going to spend Easter now that our loved one has passed. What about Valentine's? How do we deal with that? Christmas, a birthday, an anniversary. All of these special days that we tend to think about our past deceased loved ones even more in a stronger way, because it's constantly there. But today it's an actual day that we can stop and think, and we're like, wow, that person is actually no longer here. I would love to have spent Christmas with them, or I would have loved to spend Valentine's with them in our special day. We also have this loss of a parent or parental figure. Doesn't have to be biological parent. We also have that available. We have things for the kiddos. We have stepping stones for the teenagers age 6 and 18. That it's also an amazing group. We actually have this called the Rhythm of Life, which is a drum circle support group for those that enjoy music. And it is such a great group. And these are usually free. Some of them, as you can see, is a $10 cost. Some of them is a $40 cost. But don't ever feel that because there's a cost, you can't do it. Call us. We can always do something. So don't ever feel like you can't attend because of money. And then lastly, you can always reach out to us. Like I said, call us, email us if you have a question. We provide bereavement to 4 counties: Anne Arundel, Calvert, Charles, and Prince George's. Those are the 4 counties that we service. I specifically service Prince George's. My focus is in Prince George's. But we are also, we are a bereavement and counseling center, but we also do not have a crisis center. We wish we did, but we don't. But here are some phone numbers that you can call if you are experiencing a crisis at any time of the day. It doesn't matter if it's 3 in the afternoon or 3 in the morning. You call these numbers and you ask for help. Ask for whatever you need. If maybe it's just someone to talk to. Maybe you came home from work, you had a really bad day at work, and now you have to deal with life at home. Call and ask for help. And lastly, here is my contact information. Like I said, I cover Prince George's County, but if you are from a different county and you need help, you can always call me. My phone number is there. It is 443-926-3098, and my email is there on the screen. But you can also always go on our website. There are contact information forms, emails, and other phone numbers that are available to you. And our website is hospicechesapeake.org. And there's more information as well in our website, different things that you can read about. So don't ever feel like you can't